The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. At that time, one of the multitude said to Jesus, "Teacher, bid my brother divide the inheritance with me." But he said to the man, "Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you?" And he said to them, "Take heed and beware of all covetousness, for a man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And he told them a parable, saying, "The land of a rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought to himself, 'What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops.' And he said, 'Oh, I know what I will do. I will put down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grains and my goods. And then I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid down for many years. Take life easy. Eat, drink, and make merry.' But God said to him, 'Fool, this very night your soul is required of you. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be then? So is he who lays up treasure for himself instead of being rich in the sight of God.'" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise be to the Lord Jesus Christ.
Vanity of vanities. The preacher says it. Vanity of vanities. All our struggles in life. I have no resting place in this world of sin, pain, and shame. I have no resting place in this world of death. Oh, vanity of vanity. The preacher says it. Vanity of vanities. All our struggles in life, all that is of value is our love for God and neighbor. All that is of value is how much we love. Oh, vanity of vanity. The preacher says it. Vanity of vanities. All our struggles in life. Heaven is my lasting home. Heaven, heaven, heaven is my lasting home in the presence of Christ. Oh, vanity of vanities. The preacher says it. Vanity of vanities. All our struggles in life. Lead questions for today. Question number 1. Our first reading raises a very fundamental question. Our first reading from Ecclesiastes raises a fundamental question. What is that question? And as a Christian, what answer can you provide for the question? How would you answer that fundamental question if you identify the fundamental question. Question 2. Why do you think greed and avarice are considered in Christian thought, considered to be equivalent to idolatry? And what is idolatry? The worship of false gods. Why do you think greed and avarice are considered idolatry? Question 3. The successful farmer in today's gospel was condemned by God. But why? What did he do wrong? Is it a sin to be successful? What did he do wrong? Question 4. The gospel challenges Christians to adopt a certain attitude towards our physical, human life, material wealth, worldly power, worldly prestige, worldly fame. What is this attitude? Yes, I can.
Good morning, Father.
Good morning.
I want to answer question 3.
Question
3.
Okay.
Yes, it is a sin to be successful if it gets to your head.
If it is a sin to be successful if it gets to your head. Some people don't understand what that means. Can you explain?
If the success shifts you from...
If the success enters into your head.
Yes, and
How?
shifts you away from the focus of heaven.
If the success shifts you away, say it again.
If the success
Shifts you away from the focus, which is supposed to be heaven.
Heaven.
That's what it means for the success to get into your head.
Yes.
Some people here don't understand that. Give her a round of applause. Yes, where are me?
Morning, Father.
Okay, are you going to say when the success gets into your stomach?
I want to answer question 4.
Question 4.
The attitude Christians should adopt towards our physical life, material wealth, worldly power and fame, and so on. The attitude is that we should trash all of this and focus on God.
We should trash all and focus on God. Trash all? How will they pay your school fees if we trash all? If your daddy trashes all.
Well, if it should stick to your head, if all of that material wealth,
okay, once again,
should stick to your head.
Okay, once again,
you shift
stick
away
to your
from
head.
God to heaven.
One says gets to your head. This one sticks to your head. Aha. So rather than allow this thing to stick to your head, you should trash them.
You should just use them a bit, but don't let it stick to your head.
Just use them. Don't let them use you. Can you help me tell them?
Don't let it use you, but use them.
Aha. Tell them that when you have material wealth or power, don't let those things use you. Help me tell, not me. Help me
When
tell
you have
them.
material power, don't let the power use you. But
You use those things to serve who?
God.
To serve God. Give her a round of applause. Yes, one is here.
Thank you, Father. I want to attempt question number 1.
Yes.
The question raised there is, what has a man to gain from all his toys and strain with which he toys under the sun?
Is there a shorter way of putting it? A shorter way?
What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul?
Not exactly. You have gone beyond that question. More simply, because he was not talking, this guy wasn't talking about soul at all.
What does it profit you to gain the whole world, and when it is all vanity?
Okay. To gain, what does it profit to gain the whole world when it is vanity? Okay.
Because another person will come up and
take it.
take it.
So even that your fine house,
Yes.
Another person will come someday and take it.
Yes, somebody
Well,
who did.
vanity. And I saw the way you were decorating the thing. Give him an applause. Yes, Mike. Mike there. So another person will come.
Still on question 1, Father. I think the fundamental question is, what is the essence of life?
Thank you. Give him a round of applause. The question is simple. What does life mean? What is the meaning of all of life? You wake up, you go to bath, you go to dress up, you go and put perfume, you do layover, you do perfect finish, yes, you put mascara, then you now put gele on top, and then you go to work, you come back, you eat, you go to toilet, you go to sleep. The next day, you wake up, you begin. What is the meaning of all this? You pursue contract, you pursue this, you marry wife, you look for children. What is the meaning of all this? That's the question. To the extent that you can be doing all this, you don't know whether the very next moment, whether you will die. You don't know, right? So what's the meaning? One idiot can come and point a gun at you and finish you with one tiny little metal. So what's the meaning of all this? You are building a fine house. There is no guarantee that you will live there for 100 years. Actually, no guarantee that you live there for one day. So what's the meaning of all this? That's the fundamental question. What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? Is there any question we have not answered? Question 2. You have question 2? Okay, Lawrence.
Good morning, Father.
Morning.
So I think that greed and avarice are considered in Christian thought to be equivalent to idolatry, and it's two-sided. On one side is that it has a tendency of making people want more and more and more, and then they lose focus, like Ekene said, from God, and then focus on the ability to acquire more and more.
So when you begin to acquire, acquisition acquires you.
Yes, exactly. And then those things become demigods. So they are properties. They look at it and like the fool in the word today. They think that they have all the power and they don't need God.
Is there a dimension of the addiction in the acquisitive instinct, in the human acquisitive instinct? There is a potential for addiction.
Yes.
So we can be addicted and wanting to acquire more and more.
Yes. So on the other hand is that those people who have lost focus and are acquiring and made their acquisitions demigods also have the tendency of making other people who have lost focus make them demigods.
Oh, not only will they make the things they acquire their gods, but they will make, because they have acquired so much, they will make other people believe that they are
demigods.
They are gods themselves. Wow. So they are not only worshiping false gods, they are making themselves into deities on account of the plenty of things they have gathered. It's dangerous, isn't it? Give her a round of applause. Okay. So the question, Valentine, the question is, what is the purpose of life? That is the fundamental question. Kohelet, the author of Ecclesiastes, is called Kohelet, and he's a wise man, and he had lived for a long time. If you read Ecclesiastes from chapter 1, verse 1, he introduces himself, that I have governed over Jerusalem for all these long years, and I know all that needs to be known. But even to know so much, what is it about? It is still vanity. The author of Ecclesiastes deals with the fundamental question of the meaning of life and the purpose of human existence, with all its toil and sweat and eventual death. With us human beings, the certainty of death is ever present. You know, philosophers of all ages and of all hues and creeds have spent a lot of time reflecting on death. Even in my own place, those that were philosophers among our traditional people, they spent time reflecting on death. You discover that the singing masquerade priests that we had spent a lot of time composing songs about death, because it is through reflecting on death that you get to know the meaning of life. So today's generation that doesn't want to think about death, pity, they will know very little about the meaning of life. All through history, wise men and women spent a lot of time reflecting on death and what it means. Because if you do not know what death means, then you won't know what life means. So, with us human beings, death is certain and it is ever present. Every day, we have the reality of death before us. So, wise persons have grappled with the question. What is the question? Why do we have to die? Is death the end of everything? If we are born only to die, then why be born at all? What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of human existence? Kohelet. For him, all of life, all of life's ambitions, all of life's accomplishments just don't square, just don't make sense. I mean, it would have been nice for us to just put one coffin, one coffin in our dress, what do you call it, not wardrobe. Wardrobe is hidden. Somewhere that every day you are seeing, in case for any moment in your day you forget that you will die. Somewhere you will be looking at it. As you are, I have forced you to look at it now. So, for those who don't want to think about that, you can close your eyes. But I want you to think about it. All of life and its accomplishments just don't square. It amounts to vanity, futility, emptiness. Unless there is some purpose and meaning to it which transcends death. Unless there is a purpose, unless there is a meaning in life beyond death. Otherwise, life is meaningless. Yet, Kohelet is not sure what this purpose is all about. Kohelet didn't know. That's why when Valentine says that what Kohelet says is that what does it profit a man unless if he loses against the whole? I say no. Kohelet didn't make that conclusion. The human mind abhors mortality. You see, if you see the effort human beings are putting to regenerate themselves, if you see the effort some men put into planting their seeds in all legitimate and illegitimate places, they say actually some men have more attraction in planting their seeds in illegitimate places than the legitimate places. And sometimes the thing leads to disgrace, it leads to embarrassment, it leads to shame, but it is like there is something inside that is driving them to do it. What is it that is driving them? Part of what is driving them is the instinctual abhorrence of the fact that I die and I will finish like that, just like that. So they say no. If I can spill my seed in as many gardens and fields, as wide as many fields and gardens, and all those begin to germinate in as many women as possible, then maybe I will live long and wide in them. All that is vanity. There is a profound longing deep within each one of us for immortality. It's a profound longing for immortality. Immortality means to live forever. Instinctively, as if by impulse, we seek to live on through what? Procreation and more procreation, through heredity. And after procreation, we live through achievements. That is why, I say to you here that when there is a tradition or when there are customs and practices, we need to find out why is it that our people believe this? Why are they so committed to this? Part of the reason why they were so committed to a man having a child, a man having a son, is because after that, they didn't know what else. So, at least, as I'm dying, let me see somebody that looks like me carrying on. Do you understand? And if I can have 100 of them that look like me, better. When they have procreated plenty, and having heredity plenty, then they think of achievements. Achievements. What have I achieved? I never built upstairs for village. I never build upstairs for village. How can I just be staying in rented house? When I go to village, in my senior brother house, they stay. That's not good enough. So the day they will come for my burial, now for my senior brother house, not my own. So the guy goes into working hard. By fair and foul means. By earning and by stealing. Because there is something inside him that is pushing him. Achievement. The preface at Masses for the Dead in our liturgy has the following words, which I will ask you to read. In him, the hope of blessed resurrection has dawned, that those saddened by the certainty of dying might be consoled by the promise of immortality to come. Indeed, for your faithful, Lord, life is changed, not ended. Can we repeat that together? Indeed, for your faithful, Lord, life is changed, not ended. And when this earthly dwelling turns to dust, an eternal dwelling is made ready for them in heaven. How I wish that at Mass you listen to the preface, because the preface captures, for each Mass, captures the essence of our celebration. Jesus had just finished one of his teaching sessions when one man from the crowd came up to him to ask him to intervene in an inheritance dispute with his brother. We have plenty of it around, isn't it? Aha. Jesus refused to be dragged into the controversy over material goods. Jesus had more serious business. When I keep saying Jesus has more serious business than just to help me acquire that contract, people don't understand. This man was cheated, isn't it? He had a legitimate complaint, isn't it? He was cheated. And he saw this big rabbi who, if he speaks with authority to his brother may behave. But what did Jesus do? Jesus said, don't put your trust on material goods or seek meaning in worldly possession. Take a look at that gospel again. Please tell my brother to share our father's inheritance with me. And Jesus turned to him and said, who made me? No, he said, man. Did you see that? Mr. Man. That's how we will say it today. Mr. Man, who made me a judge or divider of property between people? Beware. The man would have said, what did I do wrong? Beware of greed and avarice. Beware of covetousness. Do not put your trust on material things. Wow. Like I said, it would have shocked the man. Then Jesus turns to everybody and warns them not to become prisoners of greed and slaves of acquisitiveness and endless ambition. You see, Jesus knows that man that was asking for this, it may not be because he is poor or doesn't have whatever. It is greed. And he will fight to the end. And many of us do it, isn't it? He will, things that you can overlook. I have seen siblings fighting over things like umbrella of their father. Umbrella. Yes. It says that it's my father. It's my right. It's my right. How can he take all that? It's my right. And he will fight. I have seen siblings fighting over a 20 square meter land. What did I call it? 20 square meter land. You say it's my ancestral portion. And then everybody will tell him, even the wife will tell him, that if you don't go to court and claim that, do you know what it means? That your own side of the family has been wiped out of this clan by not having your own part. And they will fight, and they will go to court, and they will spend millions with a lawyer in order to claim a land that costs 50,000. Idolatry is worship of false gods. It consists in putting our trust in or giving our life over to something or someone other than the... Can we repeat that, the definition of idolatry? It consists in putting our trust in or giving our life over to something or someone other than the Almighty God. What it means is that if we give our life over to and put our trust in even our child or our parent or our spouse other than God, then we may be guilty of idolatry. Greed and avarice and inordinate ambition for worldly power and security amount to idolatry. Read Colossians chapter 3 verse 5 and Ephesians chapter 5 verse 5. The rich man in Jesus' parable not only put his trust in his possession, he was ready to use them exclusively for his own benefit. Like Kenneth said, and wait a minute, it got onto his head. Instead of trashing it, it got onto his head. He says to himself, my soul, you have things laid out for years to come. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But Jesus Christ says, a man's stomach is not only made for food, St. Paul says. In biblical terms, the selfish person, the one who cares for no one but himself, the one who sees no link between his fortune and the fate and fortunes of others. I hope you'd see that that's part of the problem. He saw no link between his bumper harvests and the fortune or lack of fortune of others. There was no link. Such a person is dead already. He is in fact already dead. All that the master, all that God told him at the end was to pronounce the death, like the doctor pronounces. You know, the death, when you rush somebody to the hospital and the doctor pronounces him dead, is it the doctor that killed him? All the doctor has done is to authoritatively pronounce that he is. It tells you that actually before you reach here, the death don't die. It don't die dead. Not to care about others is to be dead and buried alive. You know that the father of the prodigal son said that my son was dead and has come back to life. Was he not still breathing? But because he didn't care about others, he didn't care about his father, he didn't care about his brother, he only wanted to enjoy himself like the rich fool. He was dead. So again, not to care about others is to be dead and buried alive. Even though your frame is still walking around. It's only a frame. That's Luke chapter 15, story of the prodigal son. Instead of getting involved in the dispute between the two brothers, Jesus focused on the cause of the dispute. You see, Jesus does not get dragged into curing symptoms. We are often involved with curing what? Symptoms. No, Jesus doesn't cure symptoms. Jesus wants to heal the real person from inside out. He focused on the cause of the dispute. And what is the cause of the dispute? Greed. Greed for possessions that has divided two brothers in the story. And that same greed has continued to divide brothers and sisters and parents and children and husbands and wives, and one clan against the other and one tribe against the other. True or false? Many men and women have died leaving behind enormous estates, but now and again, driven by greed and envy, the families have been torn apart by the wealth left behind. I still remember the story of somebody, I think it's about 10 years ago, somebody who died, who was a big civil servant, and he died. He was supposed to even be a pastor. He died leaving enormous wealth, plenty of houses in Abuja and money in the bank. Now, if the wives, there was a legitimate wife and an illegitimate wife, if the wives, plural, if the wives had just gathered together and put greed aside and negotiated in a gentlemanly way, we will never have heard it. But they said, no way, I must get my own chunk. In that process, we got to hear. Then we say, was he not a civil servant? By then, I think they say it was 6 billion worth of wealth. That is how the thing got to the public. The rich man in Jesus' story had a bumper harvest. Now, what was his sin? Number one, what was it? He thought only of himself, ready to use his wealth exclusively for himself. Number two, he was attempting to rejoice and celebrate alone. They know they celebrate alone. The concept of celebration is social. You can't celebrate alone. Now, a madman, they celebrate alone. A mad woman. A sane person does not celebrate alone. If celebration is to be celebration, even if you live in your house alone, the day you want to celebrate, you have an open house. You will invite people. Otherwise, it is no celebration. The man wanted to celebrate alone. Next, he hoarded his goods rather than sharing. Next, he forgot that the mere fact that he succeeded, that once you succeed, there is an obligation that goes with success, with blessing. People say, God has blessed me. To whom much has been given, from him much is expected. To the extent and in the proportion that God has blessed you, it is to that extent and in that proportion your obligation to others. Are you getting some answers to the question about wealth? Yes, fingers are not equal. Some fingers are longer than the others. But the work of the longer finger is more than the work of the small, short finger. When there is a tall person here, if we want to hang this photo, do we ask the shortest person to hang it? We ask the taller person, because to whom much has been given. Aha. My people say, Oroko ozu deaviavin. Now, the older person, now they carry palm fronds that are wet. When children and adults go to farm and they have to carry many things, the ones who carry dry palm fronds are the children. The ones who carry wet palm fronds are the adults, because they are the ones who can carry it. To whom much has been given. Next, he put his trust in and had his security in a material wealth. Let's use a Kenneth's term. He allowed the wealth to get onto his head. Next, he failed to recognize that no one celebrates alone. We find meaning in life only by reaching out. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. In Jesus, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. in Jesus. His life was limited to what he owned. He talked, or his talk was all about himself, his grains, his barns, his possession. Did you hear that gospel? A rich man's farm produced bountifully. And he said to, what, is it to the people he gathered for party? He said to himself, I have no place to put my grains. I know what I will do. I will build more barns. And I will say to my soul, everything about me, myself, and I. His world was seen simply in terms of what he owned. You see him? See the rich man? The rich man thought he was self-sufficient. You see, he's thinking what he is to do. You see the poor farmers farming for him? He did not share anything with anyone. Even his conversation was, he could have called one of those farmers to discuss his problem with them. No. He discussed with himself. He thought he had secured his soul and his future with his many possessions. In his search for happiness and security, he forgot God. He forgot eternal life. He forgot the poor. He forgot that there is death too. He forgot that there is what? You know, as our people say, there is God. Who, actually, you can also say, there is death too. There is death too. There is death too. Not only there is God, but also, in case the person doesn't believe God, at least every day he is hearing about death. The rich man was simply a fool, an idiot. He was already a dead man. He got his priorities wrong. He did not understand life's ultimate purpose. Life's purpose is for others. We were created to reach out to others and not to gather in, but to reach out to others. Yes, he did not know what gives life meaning. And unfortunately, many still do not know what gives life meaning. It remains the fundamental question that everyone has to grapple with. So his life was an exercise in vanity. Such a man dies how many times? At least twice. He dies on account of greed, and he dies again when his soul is demanded of him. We were created by God, who shares his life with us, who gives himself away. God's creativity, his abundance, moves out to others. How we know about God's creativity is the way he created us. So God is not creative within himself without doing something. The way we know about God's creativity is when we see different people, yellow and black. Some people are like blue. Some people are... Oh, maybe not makeup, but... Now, perfect finish, make them blue. In contrast to the rich fool, Jesus spends his whole life for others. His love and his wisdom for others. His body and his spirit for others. His energy and his prayers for others. His stories and his imagination. Did he tell stories to himself? For others. Jesus keeps nothing to himself because he regards nothing as his own alone. He recognizes that everything comes from the Father. Jesus does not want his followers to live purposeless lives. He came to give our life meaning. He didn't want to live life buried in the false security of wealth and possessions, while real life passes them by. The wealth that Jesus bestows does not divide brother from brother. Amen? Amen? Jesus does bestow wealth, but his wealth does not divide brother from brother. The real wealth of Jesus is one that we must give away, so that we may be rich in the sight of God. Giving away our wealth and our very lives is what makes us rich in the sight of God. It is called in theology kenosis. Kenosis. Self-emptying. It is only through self-emptying that we can possess the kingdom of God. We cannot, my people say, wakaso cheneta do chekuwe. If you say the thing shouldn't spill away, it will splash on your face. My people get them plenty, no so. Real wealth is not in possessions, but in enjoyment of interior peace. The one who has interior peace is rich indeed. In an age and in an era and in an environment of greed and avarice and anxiety, where many people are getting sick on account of too much stress, coming from too much anxiety over this and that and that, interior peace and contentment is a real treasure, right? Many people have lost the capacity to enjoy life. I mean, the way I'm enjoying life now. Many people have lost the capacity to enjoy life because they have to acquire ever newer and ever more expensive gadgets. If you must buy the latest gadget, you must buy the latest car, you must redesign your house with the latest fashion in your estate. You know, I came to Abuja 9 years ago or 8 years ago, and then that was my first time of seeing that people put tiles on fences. No, there were no tiles on fences before. There were no tiles on fences before. I only began to notice it 8-9 years ago. And today, it has become normative for every house. You know, can you see how wants eventually become needs? I grew up in a house built in 1957, and the house well cemented below. There were no tiles, but the cement was smooth, well done. And we walked around that house, and it was all we needed. It was all we needed. Today, if you don't bring Italian tiles, then you don't have a good house. You see how wants and frivolities and vanities can become needs. And do I look like somebody whose head is not correct because there were no tiles? Many are so busy hoarding possessions that they have no time to enjoy the simple things of life the way a child can. I mean, you know, young people today, there are many things that they don't know. Inya, you will read the memoirs that your daddy is putting together. And there, he will tell you that when he was going to primary school, he didn't have shirt and short. He only had cloth, oba, the woven cloth, that you just tie like this and go to school. And nobody is talking of shoes, so. Nobody had, only teachers had. And does he look like somebody who, anything is wrong? I say, wants suddenly become needs. Can we say this together? Greed is like fire. The more wood you pile on it, the hungrier the fire gets. Abi? Again, greed is like fire. The more wood you pile on it, the hungrier the fire gets. It is not going to stop burning because you put more wood. Actually, it will be asking for more. One of the biggest problems of our age is that people do not know when they are well off. This is the new dimension. I think I am well off. But some people will see me and I say I'm well off. I say, what do you get? What do you get? I get everything I need. So I am well off. Everything I strictly need. There are many things I want that I don't have. But everything I strictly need, I get. So I am well off. But there are many people who think that to be well off is to get all the things that their colleagues are getting, to join the Joneses. Aha. There are people who think that to be well off, that bag there, Evan, you know how much it is? Is it that bag there? That's not a 100,000 naira bag. That bag there. That bag there can buy my house in the village. True, that bag there is a 500,000 naira bag or more. Does that person who goes to buy it, does he really need it? That wristwatch there, do you think that wristwatch there is 50,000 naira wristwatch? Or you think it's my kind of wristwatch? That wristwatch there. What about that vanity car there? You see that vanity vehicle there? And the person, right, put them, Abi? Because he doesn't need this for comfort. He needs it for vanity. Now, those jackets you see there, and that perfume you see there, do you think it, I think, one day you do buy 3,000 naira perfume, I mean? When you see that kind of perfume, one day don't go near it. It's not your level. Because your salary for 1 year cannot buy that perfume. Vanity of vanities. All our attractions, all our ambitions are vanity. I say, vanity of all this corruption in Nigeria, all the money where we steal, nobody to do these things. So that when we do marriage, it will be the talk of the town. Gelenawa. Now, those of you who can see, how much, Evan, how much is that shoe, set of pair of shoes? 38,000 naira? $38,000. And $1 is 370 naira. Now, world's most expensive shoes for men. Those ones are more than $38,000. Shoe like this, make person just wear shoes like this. And you can see that of the woman there below. Joy, you think it's like your kind of shoe? Chai. Yeah. Chai. You see, all the money we they struggle to make for this country, not to display like this now. Abi? To display like this. My car is bigger than your own. You don't like it? Because you no get. Now, when we they go places and we be big man, we be local government chairman, we be chief, we be president, we be governor, we no fit go alone. 1, 2 people security follow us, e no do. We must burn fuel, finish the fuel of the town to go airport or to go somewhere. You see them? You see my people? Me, I think say this new regime go cancel this thing. Me, I think say they go cancel this thing. Me, I could even write letter to them when they enter, say, I beg this thing. Then they waste our fuel. Then they drive innocent people off the road. This thing no good. I beg, make una help me tell them. Say one person they go airport or one person they go somewhere, see the number of vehicles, it is a monumental waste and vanity of all vanities. Make una help me tell them. Not be only that, even the way with the bear titles. And now, permit me to humbly welcome the distinguished chairman of this occasion. He is no other than His Imperial Majesty, Chief the Honorable Sir Dr. Sam Amehuna Oriaban. Chief the Honorable Dr. Engineer Dr. Sam Amehuna Oriaban, the Onyekehihu the first of Ikaraoro Kingdom. What's the meaning? Then his degrees, NECO, DIP, BSc, MSc, MPhil, PhD, PGD, FSS, FCEC, CFL, MNI, Fellow of Lux Terra, and JP. And ladies and gentlemen, he is not here alone. He is not here alone. He is here with his adorable, charming, and amiable wife, Her Celestial Highness, Lady Chief Architect Dr. Mrs. Precious Oriabani, the Olowoju of Etuno and the Yegbe of Ikaraoro. Vanity of vanities, all our struggles in life, all that is vanity, isn't it? Can you read the lines below? Few things are necessary to make a wise man happy, but no amount of material wealth and power or fame and prestige will satisfy a fool. That one, you read it only if you agree. I didn't ask you to read that one. So we read it up to that point. Then only a few of us will read the last line. Once again. Few things are necessary to make a wise man happy, but no amount of material wealth and power or fame and prestige would satisfy a fool. Me, I am not a fool. Now, the president of Uruguay. The president of Uruguay, he uses a Volkswagen, 35-year-old Volkswagen Beetle. He rides motorcycle to nearby places. And he says, can you read it? I have a way of life that I don't change just because I am president. Again.
I have a way of life that I don't change just because I am president.
Next. I earn more than I need, even if it is not enough for others. Now, Jose Mujica, president of Uruguay, donates how much? 90% of his salary to charity. Does it not look happy? Are armed robbers going to be pursuing him to take his money? Because the armed robbers have better car than himself, so they won't pursue him. Next. The love of money is the root of all evils, and there are many who, pursuing it, have wandered away from the faith and given their souls a number of fatal wounds. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. The love of money is the root of all evils, and there are many who pursuing it have wandered away from the truth, from the faith, and given their souls a number of fatal wounds. Heavenly Father, we thank you, we praise you, we glorify your holy name for your many blessings. Thank you for your love and your goodness. Thank you once again for instructing us on the meaninglessness of life, the vanity of life, the futility of life without you. Without our gaze permanently fixed on your kingdom, how useless, how vain, how meaningless life could be. Lord, instruct us on how to use the things of the world. Instruct us on how to even view our physical human life. Help us to know that it profits us nothing if we gain the whole world and lose our soul. Help us to recognize those of us whom you have blessed with many things, with talents, with goods, with time, that to whom much has been given, from him much is expected. Help us to know that we have been given much so that we may stretch our hands to help others. Help us to know that just as people are rich, it comes with responsibility for the many in our environment that are poor. Help us to use our gifts and talents to reach out to others, that we may not be swallowed by our wealth, but that our wealth may be a channel towards your kingdom through Christ our Lord.